Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Power of Your Mind podcast. You're listening to episode 232, sometimes known as 232. I don't know. Anyway, today we're asking the question, can you manifest love? I'm hypnotist Jim Kellner, and I'm once again co-hosting for my good friend, my colleague, the Law of Attraction hypnotist. She's the #1 best-selling author of The Practical Law of Attraction. Get that book. Align yourself with the manifesting conditions and successfully attract your desires. She's also the founder of hipdoc.com and HypnoClouds apps, which gives you access to over 500 hypnosis recordings right in the palm of your hand. So be sure to download that app from the App Store. Everyone give it up for my friend, Victoria Gallagher.
Woohoo! Hey, Jim, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you today?
Good. I'm great. Just ended a really productive, really long-winded call with my development team. And so we are making some headway. And I took a little peek. We're recording December 1st episode right now.
Wow.
So by now, maybe the app has already been launched. Who knows? If if it goes according to what they say will happen, then it would have already been launched, and we will be celebrating that on this episode. But still, on this episode, I'm not even gonna reveal the new name.
I have found that developers are very optimistic.
If only I could be as optimistic as that. You said it. You said it. You can learn a lot of optimism.
Right.
Maybe overly optimistic.
Every time you talk, oh yeah, everything's good. It's coming along. It's almost done. Yep.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think we're gonna, on the next episode, we're gonna talk a little bit more about that. By the way, since today we're talking about manifesting love, and we're always talking about getting my Practical Law of Attraction book, I thought maybe we should give a little shout out to how to manifest your soulmate using the Law of Attraction as well. Because obviously in that book, I do talk a lot about my story and how I manifested my soulmate. And so I kind of gave away the punchline here a little bit by saying I did manifest my soulmate.
But can you? You did, but can we actually manifest
Can
love?
Everyone do that? And that's an interesting question, because maybe it was just by did I design that? Did I create that? Did I set that intention? Did I manifest it? Or is there a formula essentially that anyone can follow to to meet their soulmate? Because sometimes we can't always control who we fall in love with, but we can put ourselves into the position, to manifest somebody who has a set of qualities, that we would have a good relationship with. And so absolutely, I believe that anybody can find love, anybody can manifest love. There's just some steps and things that you need to follow, some things that you need to do, some guidelines that'll help you get there.
Excellent. And we're going to dive into those. We're going to find out what those are, I hope, right?
Absolutely. Well, so as I mentioned, I manifested my soulmate, Steve, and it has been 14 years since we've been married. It's been 14 years since we've been married. That is insane. I guess that's a long time. How long have you been married?
Almost 2 years now.
Almost 2 years. So
Almost.
you're looking out at
like a week away.
Your future here.
Yeah, exactly.
And but I actually manifested him just coming into my life. That's been a lot longer. It's been, I want to say 18. Yeah, that's 18 years. So we were, kind of like in the on and off sort of dating thing for about the first 4 years before we actually got married.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to say, um, what are some of the things that I did? Well, number one, I got really clear on what I wanted both times. Like I manifested him twice.
Right.
It's kind of an interesting story because actually three times.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm not sure about
three.
if I knew about the 3 times. I knew about the 2, but huh.
Yeah. So I manifested him. We went on our first date in April of 2004. Yeah,
Mhm.
April of 2004, we went out on our first date. We met on Match.com. And so the very first time that I manifested him was getting clear. I used Match.com as putting my intention out to the
Okay.
universe.
Yeah.
It was really my statement. I created this whole vision statement, and the way that I created my profile there was I made a list of 20 qualities, and attributes and characteristics, my top 20, like even from like sort of how the person might look, how what some of their values would be, what kind of things they like to do, what they're interested in. I made a list of all these things, and then I created my profile out of those things, and I just made a statement, and that was my statement. It wasn't even just for my profile, but it was my statement to the universe, and it kind of sounded a little wacky, to be perfectly honest, but I wasn't writing it like a normal person might write their profile. I was
Mhm.
writing it really from more of a law of attraction. I am attracting into my life this person, and I would
Yeah.
get all kinds of people that would message me just to tell me that, like, who are you to expect all these things?
Yeah.
And I basically said, like, obviously you're not, the one. So like,
If you're asking, yeah, it's not you.
it's
You don't
not
need to
you.
know because it's not you.
Right. And it's not personal. I
Yeah.
mean, your list of what you're looking for doesn't mean anything about anyone else. It
Yeah.
it doesn't mean anything, and it's just what you want. And when he came into my life, he matched up in every area except for I had asked for somebody who didn't like sports or didn't watch
You
sports.
got the wrong
And
you got the wrong guy there.
he loves
That
sports.
one backfired.
And I also wanted somebody that didn't have any tattoos. Well, he has
Hmm.
one tattoo,
Mm.
and it's his family crest.
Oh,
And,
that's cool.
yeah. And,
Well, if you're gonna have
stuff
one.
like, how can you, yeah, if you're going to have one, it's like, so, you know, um, it was, but every single thing matched up. And then not only that, but I got some bonuses that I wasn't expecting. Like, I never put on there that he would like to do hot yoga, and we ended
Mm.
up doing hot yoga. Like, we did a 60-day Bikram hot yoga challenge together. And I'm like, boy,
Wow.
you know, I wanted somebody who was committed, and for him to do all of that with me,
Yeah.
even through a little mini breakup that we had during, he still kept going to the class,
Mm.
sometimes 2 days, two times in the same day. I don't know if you've ever done Bikram yoga, but
Oh,
it's
I've done
like,
Bikram yoga. Boy,
you've
one
done
time
it.
will kill you. Wow. Twice.
Twice,
Wow.
because that was how you had to do it 60 times in 60 days. You didn't have to do
Mm.
it every day, but you had to do it 60 times in
Ah,
60
gotcha.
days so you could make it up. And since
Wow.
he's in retail, he works on Saturdays, and there was
Yeah.
just no good time to do it on a Saturday. He did it twice on Sundays.
That is commitment right there. Wow.
So, needless to say, that's the first time I manifested him, was by getting clear that way. The second time was after, um I so we only went on 3 dates. That all that stuff kind of came after we met the second time in a row. So the first time was just, we went on 3 dates and we parted ways. And it was a little too kind of premature that it was premature that we met, and it was also premature that we broke up. And so when the time was right, 6 months later, I manifested him again. So this
Hmm.
time was after I had actually listened to my own. I swear to God, this is not trying to sell my Attract Your Soulmate, which is a free track inside of my HypnoCloud app, by the way. But
Uh-huh.
I listened to that hypnosis session after going out on a really bad date. I was almost gonna swear. I'm not that kind. I'm
It
not
was that
that.
bad.
I'm not that girl. But I went out, I was just, I was just tired of the dating rat race. I had found myself back in again. And so I'm like, I'm done with this. And I like literally shifted my whole attitude about what was going to be acceptable to me. I really just kind of stepped things up, and I won't go into all those details, but I created some new boundaries and some new parameters for myself around dating. And then after I did that, I started listening to my Attract Your Soulmate, and within a couple of weeks, he shows up in my email box inbox. And I'm like, oh, isn't this interesting? We went on a date. I wasn't dating any other people at the time. And because the first time around I was, kind of on a little bit of a dating spree with lots of people, and that's kind of why it didn't work out the first time around. So this is when it, November of 2004, that same year, we became a permanent couple. And that's when that was time number 2. So
Mm.
then fast forward, time number 3 was like, I'm not gonna go into the whole detail story. You have to read the book
Right.
for that. But we ended up moving from Las Vegas to Virginia to Florida. And between all that, we got engaged, we got unengaged. And during that time that we got unengaged, then we ended up breaking all the way up. And there was a whole amazing, great story that happened between, that breakup and actually getting re-engaged. And so that would be the third time. And of course, it was all about, me getting it crystal clear and specific, about what I wanted. And there was so much along the way, there was so much visualization about manifesting the ideal partner, but being open and receptive to um who the universe would send me. And
Mhm.
so I just, that ultimately it was about also just becoming the person that was a match for that to come in, because I wasn't a match. I wasn't a match vibrationally for that to be drawn into my life when all the times before when I was trying to do it. So it was literally a question I asked myself when I looked at my list again, what do I want? And I said, well, am I all these things? Am I a match for
Mm.
all these things?
Right, right.
And I think that's such a key factor and that's how you raise your vibration, is by being the person who can attract that kind of person.
I think that's such a good point. We have these expectations for others, but then you look and go, well, why would they want to date me if they were like this, but I'm over here doing this? Probably not a good match. Um, I found it interesting too that you didn't want a sports guy, but I wonder if it's more like it's not necessarily about the sports, but it's kind of like what we might think of the cliched version of a sports guy might be, and he wasn't that.
Yeah, exactly. And, and he's actually increased his level of sports watching since we've been together. Like,
Uh,
and, when we first got together, I didn't even know that he was into it. Was it just that didn't even come up, wasn't like, but then, the games started happening because, like, I mean, football season is in November. So I think it was just, you let go of a few things in the initial stages of getting together. So it didn't really come up until Super Bowl which is in January. And but he even, interestingly enough, he even gave up going watching a couple playoffs games, which is
Hmm.
huge. Like now I
Mhm.
know it's huge, but he gave up watching a couple playoffs games because I had introduced him to this personal development seminar I wanted him to go to, because I said, and that's just one of the things that was on my checklist, like
Yeah.
people that have gone through this training. It's just kind of like there's just so it it just eliminates so many issues down the road,
Mm.
going through this training, because it just kind of gets us on the same page about the way that we think about things and our perspective and all of that. So I'm like, somebody, that's just one of the things that was on my checklist. And so he went. And but yeah, the sports thing, it's increased, but I think it's also what you make that mean.
Hmm.
It's like, if the person is just gonna I guess it's just this whole idea of like, do I really want this lazy guy that's gonna be sitting around, every single day in his boxer shorts, drinking a six pack of beer and and
Right.
watching sports all night long and ignoring you,
Right.
that kind of thing. And that, even though he does like to watch sports, he will make the compromise, for us to, spend time together. And, with the advent of TiVo,
Right. Makes it easier, huh?
it makes it much easier, to compromise. And, and Lord knows, I mean, he has compromised and done so many, watching my silly Lifetime movies with me sometimes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
What a hero.
actually.
Hashtag hero right there.
Yeah, really rare, really rare.
Hmm.
Even some of, I mean, we almost watched one the other night, and I'm like, even I, like, this was like, no, I can't watch this. But yeah,
Wow.
so anyway, I think I kind of cut you off when you were going there about the sports, when,
No, no, no.
because
That was it. Yeah.
yeah.
I am curious. So, I want to make sure everybody, because I know, I mean, love is a big deal for, I mean, well, for most people. What's the best way for them to get the book? Is it victoriamgallagher.com, or should they go through Amazon?
They can actually find it on Amazon. I'm
Okay.
redesigning my site, and I need to actually highlight all my books on my site,
Hmm.
not just the one, because all of them are great.
Yeah.
And right now, the easiest way to get it is just type in, Victoria Gallagher on Amazon, and you
Hmm.
can get yourself a copy of it. It's called, or you could just type in the name of it. There's a couple of ones that might come up for Manifest Your Soulmate. But anyway, mine's how to manifest your
I
soulmate
gotcha.
using the
Okay.
law of attraction.
Nice. Nice. Now, is it okay? I mean, is it okay to, try to manifest a specific person? Like I might sit around before I got married and think, I'm trying to manifest Taylor Swift, for instance. Is that okay?
Right?
Is that a good
You know,
idea?
so this comes up all the time, and I really want to address this, because it's a yes and no question. Because yes, it's okay. Obviously, I manifested him, but when he told me, this going back to the breakup time, when he told me that it was over, I changed I changed the who I was seeing in my visualization to
Oh.
just more of like a vague person that
Mm-hmm.
that was, my soulmate. So I think it's really more important what sometimes the universe has something entirely different in store for us. And so what we want to do is we want to be clear about, very specific qualities that we
Mm-hmm.
want in that person. But like, so many times people think they get so caught up and so stuck that it has to be this person. This person's the
That
only
one
one.
person. Yeah.
That one person is the only one that could ever make me happy. And the thing is that person may not be available.
You may not be on their list.
And you may not even be on their radar.
Yeah,
You may not have, not saying you're better or worse
right.
or any of that, but you may not have some of the specifics that they are looking for. And because of the fact that we all have free will, you need two people that both freely, willingly want to be, that are a match for each other. And so that can sometimes that person doesn't know that about you yet. And maybe you've spotted somebody, and if they're available and you're the type of person that, would be a match for them, then, it's definitely somebody that you can pursue. But, so many times, you get these people's like trying to manifest their ex back,
Mm,
and it's like they're
yeah.
more than likely now. I kind of proved this wrong, but more often than not, they're an ex for a reason. And I've been
Yeah.
on both sides of that spectrum, and it was
Yeah.
painful for me to be in a relationship with somebody before Steve that we were just like on that back and forth, break up, get together, break up, get together, break up, get together. And I was kind of the one instigating all of that. I was the one that just kept pursuing this person that clearly did not want to have a relationship with me. And it's just so hard sometimes to just get that into your head. And
Yeah.
you really create all these manifestation blocks about actually being able to find the right one until you let go of the wrong one.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. And I'm just reminded of the many times in my life that I've, really, really wanted that one specific person. And maybe you get them, and then years later, but then it still doesn't work out. And then years later, you're like, wow, I dodged a bullet. Thank God that didn't work out. Or even if you didn't date them, you go, wow, you're looking back, that was just totally wrong. Who knows what it was that was attracting you to them? So sometimes the universe really does know best.
Oh, absolutely. And so the key word that I want to mention here is you got to like let go of your attachment to that
Hmm.
that is going to be that person. And really the way that you can do that is literally just to say, this or something better, this or
Oh, yeah.
someone even better. And that was essentially what it came down to with Steve. And I honestly truly believe that, we had our 3-month breakup before the engagement. If we had not gone through that breakup and I would have just settled for what he was offering at the time, which was just to date endlessly.
Hmm.
And that was all he was going to, that's all he could offer. And if I had settled for that, which just didn't feel right to me, I questioned myself a little bit like, well, is it more important for me to be with him, or is it more important for me to be, married and engaged? And what it really came down to was that it was important to me to have somebody that was committed, that wanted to make a commitment to me for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And, so if he didn't have that, then it wasn't worth it. And so I had to let go of it being him, and my whole my whole manifestation changed to, I'm going to manifest the right person. And these are all that, this to me, I felt like these are signs from the universe telling me to let go of him. And they, it was right, I had to let go of him so that a new version of him could actually evolve and emerge, because
Hmm.
he changed his whole idea about me and marriage while he was able to. And so you also have to kind of trust that when you let go, that that person will figure it out. And if they don't figure it out, the right person will show up. And I had no doubt that if he didn't rise to the occasion, somebody else would.
Yeah. I mean, it must have been difficult. Did you have any indications, or are there any indications that folks could look at to say, yeah, my love manifestation is working, or I need to start again or do something different?
Um, so just in general, when you are, starting to manifest, when things are starting to happen for you, I mean, I think one of the things is that, you just kind of start to feel more attractive, and you start looking more attractive to yourself. That was
Mm.
one of the things. It's like I looked at, I mean, I had done some work on myself. I mean, I went to the gym and I started running every day and I was dieting. So
Wow.
was definitely putting a lot of work into looking good, but I really started feeling really good about myself. And I think just having that energy, but then having other people notice you and like, there's something different about you. That to me, it's like your vibe has changed and you start to notice all kinds of, I don't know, just like positive synchronicities. I mean, it was such synchronicity. We at this point we started actually running into each other.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and but you'll just notice things falling into place, or another thing is like maybe you just start to get signs, even if the next person you date isn't necessarily the one, you it can be a little painful at that this happens, but you'll start to feel feelings about this person like as if they are the one, even though
Mm.
maybe that's not the one, but it is in a way the universe showing you someone else is out there. Someone's out there, and and you start to like feel that, if it's not them, I have within me the capacity to draw people into my life that I can feel this way about. And that's a little manifestation in and of itself. Maybe it's not the end result, maybe it's not the end goal and the ultimate manifestation, but it is a manifestation in and of itself.
Hmm. So, I mean, how do you know? I mean, so we're talking specifically about love, but I mean, whatever you're manifesting, how do you know if it's really if it's right for you? I mean, especially with love, because it's so easy to get kind of the chemistry part, kind of, strong attraction, those kind of things. How do you know if it's going to be the right one for you?
That's such a good question. I mean, so much of it is just, you just intuitively know, you just feel in sync with that person.
Hmm.
You it's everything just kind of clicks, with that person. You start finishing each other's sentences. With Steve, it was a really interesting sensation that I had when we got together for the second time, our second encounter. Like the first encounter, it's like he was, I don't, this is just kind of getting into a little bit of a weird place. But
Hmm.
I actually do kind of believe sometimes our soul uh, I don't even want to get into that because that's just getting into like a whole different vibe than
Okay.
this was going to go into. But all I'm going to say is he was not the same soul that
Huh,
I first met.
really?
His energy was entirely different, from meeting number one to meeting
Hmm.
number two. Meeting number one, I couldn't get away from him fast enough.
Wow.
Meeting number two, the 3 weeks together. I mean, there was something there, but there was something was really off.
Hmm.
And then the second time around that we met, it was like it just felt like I was home. When
Hmm.
we hugged, there was like this familiar feeling. And I think that right there, I'm going to say, is probably one of the biggest signs that you could tell that you're with the right person is you just feel safe to be you. You feel like you're going to be accepted by that person. They're safe to be who they are. There's nothing that they could do really that's so wrong that you would, I mean, unless obviously they did something abusive, but I mean, aside
Yeah.
from that, just they can't be too goofy, that's going to be a turnoff,
Yeah.
you feel safe, you feel accepted, you feel warm, you feel like just like home. That was like the best way that I could explain it. It's like when we hugged, I'll just never forget like that scene. I could smell it, I can feel it. We both had our leather jackets on. It was a cool
Uh,
evening in Las
uh-huh.
Vegas. It was November 4th, November 6th, November
Uh-huh.
6th. So it was a cool evening in Las Vegas. We both had our leather jackets on. We were meeting at Cheesecake Factory, and like, the scent of the cologne with the leather jacket, and just hugging each other. And it was just like this feeling of comfort that I had. I just felt comfortable around him, and I felt like he understands me and I can be myself. And it was just cozy.
Hmm.
So I think that is it's just a gut feeling that you get. It just feels really, really good. And I don't know, that to me, you just know. I mean, I wanted to give a little bit better guidance than you just know, but you do. You just know.
Well, and I think you mentioned something earlier that I think is so important to reiterate, because you talk about this, you just know, and probably a lot of us have been in these situations where, I mean, the person in so many ways, it's not working, it's not right, but you for whatever reason, you're so attracted to them, maybe physically or something about them, and so we're latched onto them, even though we kind of know it's not right, but it feels uncomfortable and all this, and we're not making space for what we really truly want and need. And so it's while it feels good in some ways, it's just not the same, because you're not going to get that what you really want, that feeling of you're finally home, until you let that other one go.
Oh my God, that's so true. That's so true. And that's one of the reasons why manifesting, for some people doesn't work. Or it doesn't feel like it's working. And this was my problem for 4 years before I met Steve, maybe even longer. I was holding on to an old relationship, and so I
Mm.
literally went out, literally, over a 4-year period of time. I know it sounds like a lot, but if you really break it down, with my dating profile on Match.com, I dated over 100 men before I met
Wow.
Steve. But really think about it, and it's only like 25 people a year. So it's like
Hmm.
dating one new person every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that was active.
Yeah.
And and sometimes it's just like I would count, it's just somebody I met at a coffee shop,
Yeah.
for, and all the way to like some people. I mean, I literally got on a plane and went to California to meet.
Wow.
And it was quite an adventure. And I think, honestly, if I could rewind all that, I wouldn't, because it wouldn't have led me to Steve. So I had to go through all of that to get to my soulmate. That was just my journey and my path. But, if I didn't end up meeting Steve and I was still single, and I had to like think about, well, how would I have done that differently? Well, what I probably would have done is I would have looked at that as more of like an adventure
Mm.
and a journey, and just been present with the moment. And also probably the biggest thing that never occurred to me until it did was, yeah, I mean, this literally, I literally did not realize how hard I still had it for my ex.
Ah.
And so subconsciously I was blocking out, all the possibilities. And the other thing too, so letting go of any of the old energy, and one of the other things to realize about that is not just, letting them go and processing all the emotions that go with that, but it's also, taking ownership on what you did to create any of the, misery
Mm.
regarding that. And like literally, what did I do to create that relationship? And boy, so it's like all, lots of journaling and lots of introspection, and, really, just getting rid of all of those blocks. And, so I really feel like, you're not going to be totally ready, to manifest something new unless you clear the blocks, to your manifestation with that. And, and rather than also coming from a place of desperation and need, like there's so many people, it's like, and I feel for them. Trust me, I've been lonely and I've been needy. I've had those feelings, and it's been a long time, luckily, since I've gone through that. But I really want to spare people, like more you come from that place of need and lack,
Right.
and the the longer it's going to be. It's
Yeah.
kind of a catch 22, because you think that, well, all I have to do is just get somebody to come into my
Right.
life, and then I'll be happy and I won't have that need. It'll be fulfilled. But no, it actually
Right.
won't. You have to, it's like we are the energy. It's all within us. The way to be happy is all within us. It's nobody
Hmm.
else's job to make us happy. No one's going to come into your life and, make you happy. You have to, I mean, you might meet somebody that like gives you those feelings for a little while, but then when things settle, and they always do, you're still left with who you are, and until you do the work to, release, that you need somebody. You don't need anyone. And
Yeah.
yet we all deserve to attract and have someone, but it's not going to come from you needing them. That not the real stuff. The real stuff is going to come from being inspired to manifest the person that you are meant to fall in love with and be with for the rest of your life.
It's such a hard thing to convince, friends and family members of, and even myself at certain times, been when you are just so desperate, it's like it just eludes you. That thing that you're after, it just eludes you. The more you want it, it's the same thing like in my wallet. If I've got some money in my wallet, I get more money.
Yeah.
Money's coming in. When I don't have any money, when I'm broke, no money wants to come in. It's like it's all energy, isn't it? It's just all energy that we're, and the less you need that energy, I guess, coming from yourself or something, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's that need is, and that desperation, well, that's a lower vibration. And
Yeah.
so we have to raise our vibration to something, love attracts love. So when you put that, love energy, like when if you feel like you need somebody or somebody else to complete you, that means that you think that you're broken and you're not whole. And that not wholeness is only going to attract more not wholeness.
Right. Yeah. But what if somebody's out there and they're trying to manifest love, but it just doesn't work? What about them?
I mean, essentially it just really kind of comes down to, it always works. You're always
Hmm.
manifesting. You're always manifesting at the level of vibration, that you're at. And, so when you feel like it's not working, it just actually means that there's still more for you. There's still more work to do. There's still more, um, there's still more letting go. There's still more detaching. There's still more forgiving. There's so many different things that you can do to release these blockages. Because it's, again, it's, whatever you're getting, I, and I learn this all the time. Like, I'm not even 100%. Like I'm still learning. We're still all growing, still all work in process. And so am I. Even, teaching this stuff, I'm still going through it. I'm still doing my own work. And I think the biggest thing to realize is that whatever is coming to you or not coming to you is a match for the energy that you are putting out. So you
Right.
have to get in touch with, what am I putting out? Am I saying, oh, all men are jerks? This
Yeah.
is or all women,
Yeah.
whatever way. What am I thinking? And it never works for me. This always happens. I
Right.
always seem to, they always cheat. They always
Yeah.
leave. They always da 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 da. So that, and I get it. I get it. I couldn't get past 2 weeks with most of the guys. So it wasn't that I was necessarily, um, you know, uh, but it was like there were patterns. And so you have to look at those patterns and understand that if there's a pattern happening, that's going on inside of you. All that's happening is
Yeah.
what's out there is just a reflection of what's going on in here.
It
So
has to be.
yeah.
Because it keeps happening. I mean,
Right. So so that's where the introspection comes in. That's where the journaling, that's where the long walk and talks. That's a kind of my way of journaling. Actually, I've
mhm,
found I do walk and talks. So
mm,
and it's really interesting. I'll turn on my recorder on my
mhm,
phone and I'll just record myself. And
mm.
even though, like, I don't have to record myself, if something happens when I just press record, then
Huh.
I know. It's like I could just talk without the recorder, but
Yeah.
then I might say something profound. Someday I might release all these
Right.
recordings.
Exactly. It's a great idea. I love it.
But
Walk and
yeah,
talk.
and I
Yeah.
did actually on Saturday. I had a really, really deep introspective walk and talk. All it all works. They're all the same, whether it's relationships with your friends, your family, your significant others, the people that you work with, the people you attract to work with you, all of that, it's all kind of the same. It's like, well, what am I doing that's causing this? And I think the more, because I actually do feel like in a lot of ways, like law of attraction is all about taking personal responsibility, and it's all about um integrity, and yeah, and it's the growth, and it's just, because it's like it's not the magic, it's just about understanding that what you are getting back is what you're creating. And so how can I, attract what I want? I got to change something in me to get what I want. It's like law of attraction is just law of attraction. It's just what it is, and manifesting, you're just manifesting what's inside of you. There's no other
Yep.
way to do it except for just to get and be better. And that's what all these things are really designed to do, is to just kind of show us where we're at.
And if I could just give people one tip, at least for the women, I know guys must do it too, but I don't read the dating profiles of guys. But the thing that always cracks me up, especially when you know about law of attraction type stuff, is the women. I can't tell you how many women will write, like, in the very first sentence, "No liars, no cheaters." Like,
It's been so long since I've been on seen a dating profile, but yeah, you're absolutely right. And so what do you think you're calling in to your
right.
existence when you say no liars? Just for those who are very, very, very new to
Yeah.
this
Right.
process, when you focus on what you don't want, you get more of what you don't want.
Because you're still focusing on that. That's what you're focusing on.
Right. If liars were not, I mean, it's like you're bringing something into your awareness, or you have something in your awareness about the whole notion of liars and cheaters and all the other things. And, you got to ask for honesty. You've got to ask for integrity, like and maybe, maybe you have to you have to word it in a way that, um, that draws people to you. But the no liars, no cheaters thing, I can only imagine as a person reading that person's profile, it's like, oh my God, this person is a complete head case, and they're gonna
Yeah.
just pass you right by.
And what liar or cheater is going to say, oops, I guess I can't go out with this person because they don't want liars and cheaters? It seems like an obvious thing, right? I mean,
As a matter of fact, they're probably more drawn to it
right.
because they see themselves in the profile.
Yeah, it's crazy. Drove me nuts. I always wanted to just write to him and say, you're really going the wrong direction here. But, so, I mean, what do you do? How do you deal with, and you went through this with your journey with Steve. How do we deal with this, the heartbreak, or failed manifestation?
I think the thing is, number one is you've got to give yourself the time. Uh, you got to just kind of realize like, okay, I'm going through a painful, hurtful situation here. You got to accept it. You got to embrace it. You got to say, okay, this is time for me to really just do the work. And and you just have to allow yourself that there is a time and a place to attract love, but now is a time to heal. And when I was going through the breakup stuff and it was really painful, but I made a decision. I made a decision for myself that, like, okay, this is time for me to work on myself. And I, got all these books. I started reading all these books. I started journaling every day. I gave myself the space to cry. I got like a group of friends, so that I wouldn't just inundate one person with all of this. But, I created support in my life, people that, I could call, when I felt tempted to give up on this whole thing. Because the thing is that he didn't like close the door on me. So I was in like a situation where I could have just said,
Mm,
oh, you know what, I could go back because, I could still, if I feel lonely, we can just hang out. But if I
yeah,
did that, I wasn't going to get what I wanted. So I,
right.
I just made a decision, made a commitment to myself. And I just also, realized that ultimately I was creating now a new person. I was
Yeah.
creating a new person who's going to be in alignment with getting what I wanted. And that was the way that I looked at it, is like, who do I need to become? Because obviously, because I believed in the law of attraction all the way back then. I mean, this was in 2007 when we had that breakup. And so, I just figured, well, who do I need to become so that this doesn't happen to me anymore? And I took responsibility for reinventing myself and just having hope and faith and trust that, if I just be who I need to be, that person will show up. And it actually happened. And it actually turned out to be him, which was crazy because only a tiny, tiny, tiny little part of me imagined that he could come back,
Yeah.
because sometimes that happens. But I mean, he made it so crystal clear to me from the get-go that he's like a one-time type of like if it doesn't work out the first time, it's not
Hmm.
like a back and forth kind of situation. And so, but people change. And I had no idea. I really kind of felt like I was gonna end up in a new relationship with a brand new person. And I wanted to just make myself as worthy and lovable as I possibly could, which really meant I need to be able to love myself. I need to be able to feel like, and I kind of think, love a lot of times happens when you're totally having the time of your life. So you got to like be yourself. You got to do the things that make you happy. Don't go out there trying to be on the lookout for somebody, at sporting events if you don't like sports, or,
Right. Yeah.
going and doing things that aren't in alignment with who you really are. You got to be yourself. I mean, I noticed, um, my three biggest relationships in my life all came when I was doing my passion,
Mm,
singing. My first
really?
husband came to me because I was putting together a band and he was a bass player.
Really? I didn't know you were a singer.
I was a singer. Yeah,
That's
I am
awesome.
still kind of a singer. My second long-term relationship, the heartbreaker, the middle relationship, Robbie, met him because I went to make a recording at a recording studio. And
Wow.
so, I was doing something that I loved, and he was a recording engineer, and I went and I just fell in love. And then Steve, how he came back in that time was he was responding to an email that I sent to watch a karaoke contest that was going to be televised called Singsations at the time. And he was just responding to the email. And he said, "Oh, by the way, if you're available, for dinner, I'd, love to, get together with you."
Hmm.
So all three major relationships that I've had in my life all came as a result of that one passion, singing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you do singing now?
I still, not enough, but
Mm.
I still love it just as much, and I still sing around the house. And and whenever there's an opportunity to do karaoke, I'm like the first one on stage. So
Cool.
definitely we'll have to do that in Vegas sometime.
Awesome. Sounds good. Um, hey, Victoria, thank you so much for letting me co-host the show again.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for co-hosting with me. It's always a privilege and a pleasure, and you're so good at it. And I'm so excited about our podcast. We broke a goal a couple weeks ago.
Mhm.
We got like 40,500 um, downloads in the month of, what was it, August. And then our last podcast got a little over in a day. We got a single day of 2,500
Wow.
downloads. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for listening and sharing the Power of Your Mind podcast. I'm just sitting here rambling and talking, and so I'm glad that
That's
these
amazing.
ramblings are helpful
Yeah.
to you guys. And because sometimes it's hard to believe, that so many people download and love this show, and
Yeah.
they love it even more now, Jim, that
Oh,
that you're co-hosting. So um I just really want to thank you guys for being here, and please do leave a comment on the podcast or on this video if you're watching on YouTube. Please subscribe to the Power of Your Mind podcast whenever you're listening, wherever you're listening, and subscribe to my channel. And if you found value in today's program, then be sure to share it with your friends. Be sure to leave a review. And starting last month,
mhm.
last month in November, you have a chance to win a custom hypnosis session by leaving a review and sending me a screenshot of your review. And I also have a free gift for you today for our listeners called Manifest Wealth Meditation. So simply go to victoriamgallagher.com/free gift and download it there. And finally, if there's any other topics that you'd like us to discuss, then send an email to victoria@victoriamgallagher.com. Make a suggestion. I'd love to hear whatever you want to know about. And of course, be sure to download it may still be HypnoCloud app,
Let's hope
maybe
not.
something
We're
else.
hoping not. We're hoping not.
For some amazing law of attraction and manifesting self-hypnosis sessions. And be sure to tune in next week for another amazing episode of the Power of Your Mind podcast. And I look forward to seeing you then. Until then, happy manifesting.